I can end this with one phone call. Madison Keane, 23 years old, says it like a promise, not a threat. She leans forward just enough, lips curved in quiet defiance, eyes steady on the bench. Judge Frank Caprio lowers his glasses, sets his pen down. Miss Keane, threats don't travel well on the record. Do you understand the charges against you? I understand this is a misunderstanding, she replies slurthily. That's not what I asked. Her attorney, Paul DeMarco, rises with rehearsed politeness. Your Honor, this is a routine traffic citation. My client is ready to pay any fines and resolve this matter today. Caprio doesn't even look at him. Mr. DeMarco, sit down. This courtroom isn't a checkout counter. The tone is calm, surgical, the kind that slices without raising its voice. DeMarco sits. Madison's smile falters. Officer Russo, confirm we have the body cam audio ready. Yes, Your Honor. Good, because what comes next won't be about money. It'll be about respect. Before we roll the footage, tell us where you're watching from and subscribe to Case Closed, where arrogance meets accountability and every courtroom reminder comes stamped with one word: justice. This video shows what happens when power hits the bench. The clerk steps forward. Docket number 2429847. Commonwealth versus Madison Elizabeth Keane. Charges: speeding through an active construction zone, failure to obey a lawful order, stopping and standing in a restricted work zone, intimidation and attempted influence on an officer using a public official's name. Citation issued by Trooper Carla Mendez, Rhode Island State Police, traffic detail for the Department of Transportation on Friday at 9:51 a.m. Caprio leans forward. Miss Keane, did you receive a copy of the citation at the scene? I did. And did
you read it? I glanced at it. That's not the same. Mr. DeMarco, is your client prepared to address these charges in full today? Paul DeMarco stands again, more cautiously this time. Your Honor, we believe the appropriate resolution is to pay the fines and close the matter. My client has no prior criminal record and is willing to resolve this today. Counselor, I didn't ask about her willingness to pay. I asked if she's prepared to address the facts. Sit down. Caprio flips a page. There's a notation here. Prior administrative warning from campus safety 10 months ago. Miss Keane parked in an emergency vehicle lane during a university event and refused to move when asked. Not a criminal matter, but context for judgment. Miss Keane, what happened in that incident? Madison shrugs. It was raining, I was dropping someone off, campus security overreacted. The note says you told the officer, you can call whoever you want. You moved your car after how long? I don't remember. The report says 27 minutes. An ambulance was delayed accessing the campus health center. Caprio sets the page down. That's not punishment for today, it's pattern. Paul DeMarco tries again. Your Honor, my client acknowledges she could have handled Friday's situation better. She's here to take responsibility by paying the fines and moving forward. Mr. DeMarco, paying a fine doesn't teach anything except how to use a debit card. I want to understand what happened. Miss Keane, walk me through Friday morning. Madison exhales, audibly annoyed. I was driving to work on the I-195 ramp near the Providence Place exit. There was construction, orange cones everywhere. Traffic was barely moving. I saw an opening and took it. Some guy in a vest waved at me. I stopped for like
minutes. Then a trooper pulled me over and made this huge deal out of nothing. You were clocked at 62 miles per hour in a posted 35 mile per hour construction zone. The workers were just standing around. Nobody was in danger. Miss Keane, construction zones aren't suggestions. They're human beings in the lane. Let me read you one line from the work zone incident log filed by a flagger. Flagger had to step back to avoid vehicle. Madison waves a hand. I didn't see anyone step back. Paul DeMarco objects. Your Honor, we're introducing subjective interpretations that aren't material to the citation. Counselor, a flagger stepping back to avoid being hit is not subjective. It's documented evasive action. That's harm. Caprio turns to the officer standing near the sidewall. Trooper Mendez, please read your narrative into the record. Trooper Carla Mendez steps forward, calm and precise. At 9:48 a.m., I was assigned to traffic control detail for a Department of Transportation work zone on the I-95 westbound ramp near exit 21. The zone was marked with cones, signage, and reduced speed limits. At 9:49 a.m., I observed a silver sedan entered the coned work lane at high speed. A dot flagger signaled the vehicle to stop. The vehicle did not stop immediately. It continued into the work zone and stopped approximately 50 feet past the flagger, blocking equipment staging area. I approached the driver, later identified as Madison Keane. When I explained the violations, she stated, "My mom is the governor. Do you know who my mother is?" When I continued writing the citation, she stated, "I can end this with one phone call to the State House." Caprio pauses. Trooper Mendez, did you perceive those statements as intimidation? Yes, Your Honor. Madison leans forward. That was sarcasm. I was frustrated by
The delay. Let's hear it. Officer Russo, play the body cam audio. Just the relevant exchange. A brief hiss of static, then Madison's voice, clipped and sharp. I can end this with one phone call to the State House. Caprio lets the silence hold for a moment. Miss Keane, your mother is Governor Eleanor Keane of the state of Rhode Island, correct? Yes. And when you said, I can end this, what did you mean? I was being sarcastic. Trooper Mendez, how did you interpret it? As a threat, Your Honor, an implied consequence for doing my job. Sarcasm doesn't protect road crews, Ms. Keane. Caprio turns to his clerk. Ms. Reyes, were there any contacts to this court or the department regarding this case prior to today's hearing? The clerk flips through a log. Yes, Your Honor. 2 incoming calls and 1 voicemail, all from a number registered to the Office of the Governor, State of Rhode Island. Timestamps. First call at 10:14 a.m. Second call at 10:22 a.m. Voicemail left at 10:38 a.m. Play the voicemail. A woman's voice, professional and controlled. This is Janora calling from the governor's office regarding a traffic matter involving case number 24-9847. We'd like to discuss options to resolve this quietly before it proceeds. Please return this call at your earliest convenience. Paul DeMarco is on his feet. Your Honor, my client cannot control what the governor's staff does. This is prejudicial and irrelevant to the charges. Overruled. Pressures on process are always relevant. We document. We don't speculate. I'm not accusing anyone of criminal conduct. I'm putting facts on the record. Madison shifts in her seat. I didn't ask anyone to call. Maybe not. But someone thought it would help. Let me lay out a timeline. Traffic stop
At 9:51 a.m. First call from the governor's office at 10:14 a.m. That's 23 minutes. Caprio looks at the clerk again. Is Mr. Victor Alvarez available to give a brief statement? He is, Your Honor, by phone. Put him through. A man's voice, steady and firm, fills the speaker. Thank you, Your Honor. I'm a field supervisor for the Rhode Island Department of Transportation. Friday morning, we had a crew working the I-95 ramp near exit 21. Active lane closure, full signage, flaggers posted. At approximately 9:49 a.m., a vehicle entered the work zone at high speed. My flaggers signaled to stop. The vehicle didn't stop until it was 50 feet into the zone, blocking our equipment staging area. My guys had to pause work and clear out. One car in a live lane changes everything. My guys go home to families. One distracted driver erases decades of safety policy. Madison mutters something under her breath. Caprio catches it. Miss Keane, if you have something to say it clearly. I said they were just standing there. They were working, Miss Keane. Work zones aren't scenery. They're infrastructure maintenance that keeps roads safe. Mr. Alvarez, thank you. Your statement is on the record. The line clicks off. Caprio picks up another document. Ms. Reyes, this is a text message screenshot submitted by the prosecution. Can you read it? From Madison Keane to an unnamed contact. Timestamp 10:30 a.m. Friday. Got pulled over, LOL. Mom's office will call them, don't freak. Madison's jaw tightens. That was private. It was discoverable. Miss Keane, you sent that text at 10:30 a.m. The first call from the governor's office came at 10:14 a.m. That's 11 minutes. Someone moved fast. Influence is not an eraser. I didn't ask them to. But you expected it.
You told someone not to worry because your mother's office would handle it. That's not frustration. That's entitlement. Paul DeMarco stands again, slower this time. Your Honor, I'd like to request that the remainder of this hearing be handled off the public calendar. Given the sensitive nature of the governor's office being involved, public proceedings could politicize what should be a straightforward traffic matter. Mr. DeMarco, sunlight is due process. We're staying on the record. Caprio fixes Madison with a calm, steady gaze. I'm going to ask you 3 yes or no questions, and I need clear answers. Were you in the active work zone? Yes. Did you ignore Trooper Mendez's instructions and stop in a restricted equipment area? I stopped when I found a spot. That's not a no. Did you stop in a restricted area? Yes. Did you invoke your mother's position as governor during the stop? Madison hesitates. I made a comment. That's not a no. Did you invoke her position? Yes, Your Honor. This feels like I'm being singled out because of who my mother is. Madison's voice hardens. People speed through construction zones every day and don't end up in court like this. Miss Keane, this is not about who raised you. This is about what you chose to do when you were stopped. Everyone speeds there. Maybe everyone doesn't call the governor. You're not targeted. You're noticed. Paul DeMarco shifts uncomfortably. Your Honor, Miss Keane is a recent college graduate with no criminal record. A single lapse shouldn't define her future. I agree. That's why I'm treating this as a learning gap, not a character verdict. The campus safety warning was a whisper. This citation is a sentence. If we don't speak clearly now, the next consequence might be a flagger who doesn't
Step back fast enough. 5 seconds. 7. 10. 12. That's how long it took this courtroom to remember that work zone vests can't argue with SUVs. No one moves. No one speaks. Madison stares at the table. Paul DeMarco's pen hovers. Trooper Mendez stands still near the wall. Then Caprio speaks quietly. Accountability gets quiet so truth can be heard. Here's my finding. The evidence supports all 4 charges. Trooper Mendez's narrative is credible and corroborated by body cam audio, the DOT work zone, incident log, traffic camera timestamp, and the text message. Ms. Keane drove recklessly through an active construction zone at nearly double the posted limit. She ignored a flagger's lawful signal. She stopped in a restricted equipment area. She invoked her mother's position in a manner that Trooper Mendez reasonably perceived as intimidation and attempted influence. Caprio pauses. This court does not weigh cases based on titles, connections, or family position. Influence cannot substitute for compliance. Ms. Keane, your mother's office does not get to intervene. Your status does not erase harm. The law is not a velvet rope. He turns a page. I also note the prior administrative warning from campus safety. That warning was instructional, not punitive. You were told once that emergency lanes matter. You chose not to internalize that lesson. Consequences teach what privilege hid. The base fines totaled $980. Speeding in an active work zone, $500. Failure to obey a lawful order, $200. Stopping and standing in a restricted work zone, $130. Intimidation and attempted influence using a public official's name, $150. Madison exhales sharply. Caprio holds up a hand. I'm not finished. I'm staying a portion of that total, $450, contingent on your full and timely completion of a restorative accountability plan. If you complete it, that portion is remitted.
If you don't, it's reinstated, and you pay the full amount. Here's what the plan requires. First, written apologies to Victor Alvarez and Trooper Carl Mendez. Not form letters, not public relations statements. Real apologies that name what you did and what you learned. You will deliver them in person if both agree to meet you. If either declines, you'll mail them, and the court will confirm receipt. Second, 50 hours of community service with the Rhode Island Work Zone Safety and School Crossing Outreach Program. You'll assist with safety workshops, help coordinate outreach to schools, and work directly with DOT field staff. The program director will submit a log to the court. Third, you'll assist with 3 public safety assemblies for teen drivers. No cameras, no branding, no public relations, just education. Fourth, you'll write and record a 60-second public service announcement titled "Work Zones Are Lives, Not Lanes." The script will be vetted by this court. No mention of your family, no branding, no grandstanding. Just truth about why work zones exist and what happens when they're violated. Fifth, you'll complete a driver risk reflection course covering the physics of speed in work zones, the function of traffic control, and the ethics of compliance. Certification of completion will be filed with the court. Sixth, you'll submit a 750-word written reflection on the topic Public Power versus Public Safety. Not slogans, not fluff. Plain truth about what you learned. Caprio sets his pen down. Mercy is not a coupon, it's a contract. Additionally, I'm making the following recommendations on the record to the Municipal Court Administration, the Traffic Division, the Rhode Island State Police, and the Office of the Governor. 1. Establish a public ex parte influence log for all cases. Any off-record communication attempts related to pending cases
will be documented and published weekly. 2. Implement a mandatory supervisor cosign and recusal protocol. If any officer, clerk, or court staff member is contacted by a state-level elected official or their office regarding a pending case, that staff member must either recuse themselves or obtain a supervisor's co-signature on all related actions. 3. Create automatic tow and clear priority for work zone obstructions. Vehicles blocking active work zones should trigger immediate response protocols to protect workers. 4. Launch a court clerk hotline for political pressure reporting. Any attempt to influence a case through intimidation, connection, or political leverage can be reported anonymously. Every report will be investigated. 5. Distribute a statewide driver education module on work zone respect, featuring real incident data, worker testimony, and the consequences of violations. If you think no one, not even a governor, should be able to call off a traffic case, subscribe to Case Closed so this model spreads. The door opens. A woman in a dark blazer enters, mid-50s, composed, the practiced bearing of someone used to command. Your Honor, I'm Governor Eleanor Keane. I'd like a moment to discuss my daughter's case. Caprio doesn't stand. Governor, this is an active hearing. You're welcome to observe, but I won't discuss the case with you outside the record. I'm not asking for special treatment. I'm asking to resolve this matter quietly, for everyone's benefit. Governor, quiet resolutions are how patterns continue. This case is being handled on the record in open court like every other case. Executive power doesn't travel across this bench. Madison interrupts. Mum, stop. This is my case, not yours. Governor Keane turns toward her, surprised. Caprio's gaze sharpens. Governor, this is not your case to manage. Your daughter has counsel. She has a voice.
Stays public. Step back and let her use it. The governor hesitates, then nods and moves to the back row. Over the next 6 weeks, Madison completes the plan piece by piece. Week 1. She drafts the apology. The court rejects it. Too polished, too much deflection, not enough accountability. She tries again. Better. Victor Alvarez agrees to meet her at a DOT field office. The conversation is brief, uncomfortable, and necessary. He tells her, "My flagger's kids ask him every morning if he'll come home safe. You made that question real." Trooper Mendez accepts the written apology but declines the in-person meeting. She emails the court. She named what she did wrong. That's enough. Weeks 2 through 5. Madison logs 50 hours with the Work Zone Safety and School Crossing Outreach Program. She assists with equipment demonstrations at schools, helps coordinate safety workshops with DOT field staff, and learns how work zones are planned, staffed, and executed. One DOT engineer tells her, every cone is a calculation. Every flagger is someone's parent. Week 5, she co-assists 3 public safety assemblies at high schools. No cameras, no posts, just students, DOT workers, and state troopers talking through real scenarios. Week 6, she records the PSA. The first draft includes language about my family's commitment to infrastructure safety. The court sends it back. She records it again plainly. No family name, no branding, just her voice and the truth. The second draft passes. The driver risk reflection course takes another 2 weeks. She completes it without complaint. The ledger is simple. 50 hours logged, 3 assemblies completed, 1 PSA approved, 1 attitude corrected. Victor Alvarez tells the court, she listened. That's more than most. Should every VIP work zone violation come with real community service? Yes or no? Tell us.
Below and subscribe. Case closed. 6 weeks after the initial hearing, Madison returns to court. This time, she's alone. No counsel, no governor, no entourage. Caprio reviews the submitted documents, the apologies, the service log, the PSA recording, the course certificate, the written reflection. Miss Keane, I've read your reflection. I want to hear you summarize it in your own words. No script. Madison stands. I thought work zones were just about orange cones and delays. I didn't understand that they're about people, flaggers, engineers, equipment operators doing jobs that keep roads functional. When I entered that zone at high speed and ignored the flagger signal, I didn't just break a rule, I forced someone to choose between doing his job and protecting himself. She pauses. I also didn't realize how much I leaned on my mother's position. I spent my whole life assuming someone would smooth things over. When I said what I said to Trooper Mendez, I wasn't being sarcastic. I was using power I didn't earn. Power is supposed to protect people, not run over them. What did you learn from Mr. Alvarez? That every person in a work zone has a family waiting for them. Speed isn't just about time. It's about whether someone comes home. What did you learn from the DOD staff? That safety isn't bureaucracy. It's math. Every cone, every sign, every reduced speed limit is a calculation designed to keep people alive. When I ignored that, I ignored their lives. Caprio nods. You stopped borrowing power and started earning character. He signs a form. I'm remitting $350 of the stayed portion. You still owe $630 total. You'll pay it in installments over 6 months. The court will monitor compliance. Thank you, Your Honor. Don't thank me. Thank the
people who taught you what I couldn't. 3 months later, the policies take root. The court publishes its first public ex parte influence log. 2 attempts are logged in the first week, both handled transparently. Both cases reassigned per protocol. Officers and clerks report feeling protected by the new supervisor cosign requirement. Automatic tow and clear priority for work zone obstructions is adopted statewide.
Average clearance time drops by 40%. The clerk hotline receives 7 reports of political pressure attempts in the first quarter. 5 lead to formal reviews. Madison's PSA is distributed to 32 high schools and included in the statewide driver education curriculum. It's not viral, it's not celebrated, but it's used, and that's enough. One DOT flagger emails the court, "My son watched that video in school and asked if I'm safe at work." The courtroom was silent again, just the faint hum of the city outside. Judge Frank Caprio sat alone for a moment, letting the quiet settle. It had been a long week, one filled with hard lessons, small mercies, and the kind of moments that remind us justice still has a pulse. Before leaving, he reached for a small note card, wrote a few words in his steady hand, and pinned it to the corkboard behind his bench, the same one that had carried decades of his quiet wisdom. Titles fade. Integrity doesn't. Choose the side you can live with. He paused, looking around the empty courtroom, thinking of Madison Keane, the flagger who stepped back, and Trooper Mendez, who stood his ground when influence tried to rewrite the truth. Then, with a soft exhale, he turned off the light and closed the door. Because for Judge Caprio, justice was never about headlines or hierarchy. It was about humanity, about reminding us that real fairness doesn't need a spotlight. It just needs someone willing to stand by it, even when no one's watching. If this story moved you, if you believe integrity still belongs in the courtroom, share this video and subscribe to Case Closed, where we carry forward Judge Frank Caprio's legacy, one case at a time, proving that justice doesn't end with the law, it begins with the heart.